Ani Bojo Nindawe Maganadog, Memingwans Indigenous Migazan Dodem, Anishinaabe Mede Kwet and Dell with Kwamakong and Donjaba. Hello, everyone. My English name is Ashley Najwan. I'm the Youth Intersectionality Lead at Indigenous Climate Action. And today we're here to talk about intersectionality and prophecy. With that, I am for interpretation needs, we do have some ASL interpreters with us, Hercules and Floor. So if you need any access to that, if you click on the button down below, it shows interpretation, and we will have those folks there ready for you. We do have a Q&A section as well, so if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to put them in there and we will get to them if we have some time near the end. With that, I am going to pass it off to Grandmother Diane to open us off in a good way. Chimquet.
Wajam shwe hagwini ude jiwetented uchtebian. Ovenjuk skaimstamod nimstum muskin do them. I'm here from the Northern Door, grandmother of the Cree Nation of Northern Quebec. And my name is Morning Star, the voice of thunder from the Bear Clan. So here I am sitting here, and I would like to open this session. Thank you, Ashley and the elders for being here, to open with a prayer in my language, Aho. Chemendu chigamiach matsu and utistich. Betreim nan dan how what meets though. Oshni jud majo and you. A win should go down to snag me to matsu and on de shanste. Shnistamch. Betreim nan magchemen doon of matsu and nanj. John do them nan juetin go chiek wa idama wabinu das go chiek shawan das idama bisim. Jo jisgau bisim dixgau bisim. Nest mago gawi maububuk scout and scump nan. But we gabustu nan, jibetagwich, ustni jud, dan den anstegish, which ashumiyach, majo and ishwaitakt. But me nan, and should the moon spate the moon, matsunant. But apa, dehi nan, but you be a king, the jackum nan. To the shwait matnest up matsun utistage. To the munaction matsunan and dish nistamch. Misit siwin je Jim Skamas de BHB since Jackumnan. Jo and Ster, Jib Matsier tun Skumnan, Jo Shas de Betieskuyat. Jashumi that which Majo and Indishni stamped. Jo Nan and Ster no Shumsnant, Nukumnanj, Mushum Mouch, Between Gabustunan, between the Nan. A shwait the Machume, Matsun utistis. Shwait matan and how did you swap the wayach? It's spaitak such human. Egon magician to the mayach. Did you cheese down with moon? Did you ayach who dishigat? I'm showing to them all my relations. Aho, aho.
Oh.
Jimmy Gwatch. Jimmy Gwatch, Grandmother Diane. So now we're going to jump into the webinar, and I'm going to pass it around to each of the panelists to do their introductions and introduce how they, what is significant about the time that we are in right now. So I'm going to pass it off to Abatons first to start us off with your introduction and the question, what is significant about the time that we are in right now?
Bonjour, ne magana dok Abaton skizes and Dishnakaz, Nigizin do them. I'm in this window, Zongedem, Dewian, Ujibu Nishnabe and Dow. My name is Little Half Moon. I'm of the Eagle Clan. I'm a Medewan man from the Ojibwe Nation of Turtle Island. My English name's Mike Najuan, and I'm honored to be here today amongst all of you. not just the elders, but everybody that has taken the time to listen and learn. I wasn't brought up in this way. I was a 60 scoop child. Lived off reserve my life, and wasn't exposed to any of our teachings or culture per se until I reached college, which brought me to the door of the Medewan Lodge, the Three Fires Lodge of the Medewan, which Grand Chief Eddie Benton Benet facilitated. And so the foundations of what has carried me to discover the place that was talked about for many years is this time of prophecy. And the prophecy of the Medewan people is very connected and intertwined with all of the people that are sitting on this Zoom and the people that they are connected to. People around the world, Indigenous people, speak of a time that we are in, and the time that we are in is not the time that is being spoken in mainstream of the end of times. That's not the place that prophecy speaks of, but the place of prophecy speaks of many great things. And so we're embracing what it was that was given to us. The legacy of what was given to our people on Turtle Island was not the legacy that was given to us by Creator. It was the legacy of our little brother that we were told was coming before he came. And in much the same way, as we've discovered in I guess you could call it spiritual research, we began to connect. The spirit began to connect and is connecting the people across the globe. The spirit and the prophecies of spoken about the young people, the ones that have asked for this webinar today, and the young people are standing up and speaking out in the ways that it was said was going to happen. And so here we find ourselves today on just another leg of this great journey and this great time that we're in. It's not the time of fear or panic, because our ancestors left us much and protected much for all of us to have at this time. And as you'll hear from other speakers who are much more worldly than I am in their world travels, in their integration with other Indigenous tribes, other Indigenous people, the prophecies align with one another, and the prophecies about this time that we're in align with one another, and I look forward to hearing from them, sharing and hearing once again what it is that they've carried in this life and what they've done in this life, because they've all been doing a great work for all the people and all the life, and reconnecting with our mother who needs us at this time. So I'd like to pass things on to one of my dear and respected colleagues, Miigwech.
Miigwech Albatons. And maybe we'll move on to Proven next to do your introduction and answer the question. Shimigwach.
Thank you much, Ashley. Thank you everyone for gathering in the sacred space today. My name is Puvan. Well, that's a shortened, colonized version of my name. My full name is Puvalingam, which means offering flowers to the light of creation. But the name I was given by Elder Dominic Rankin from Turtle Island is Pinapan. And I never quite understood what the name meant until I started realizing what was happening on the planet. So this was many years ago. And the name actually means the new dawn. And now it's becoming clearer to me why the name, the new dawn. But through ceremonies over many years with different traditions and communities across the globe, I've really started expanding my understanding of who I am, why I'm here at this particular time. And I once went to, not knowing what the significance of this cave was, but I went to a cave in India and, sat there in meditation. It was very powerful energy. And later I realized that it was a cave of someone called Ramana Maharishi, who sat in that cave for 14 years, contemplating the question, who am I? And after 14 years, he realized, or the dawning of the answer of I am, was quite significant, because I think often we caught, at this current time in terms of the divisions based on identity politics and the fact that, we get divided in the way we identify ourselves. But that division, is a systemic type of division, and takes away often from our human or humanity or humanness. And I do think as we spend more time together today, just to connect back in, irrespective of where we come from. My great-grandparents were slave labor that were put on a ship from India to South Africa in the 1800s. But the significance of the time we're in at the moment is, from my ancestry, it's called a dance, and it's called a Nataraja, which is the dance of destruction and creation. And as the dance happens, certain things dissolve, certain things have to be destroyed in order for the rebirthing of something different or something new. And often we see destruction as a bad thing, and it has negative effects when there's loss of life or people's rights are violated, etc. And those are really negative. But the destruction of ego, of systems, of injustice, systems of inequality, and the current, ways of being on the planet isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think it's important for us to distinguish, when we talk about destruction, whether that's actually a good or bad thing, in some ways that we're going through, but also to see the opportunity in terms of, this time of rebirth. And the opportunity we have as as young people, as elders, as different types of people on this planet, to really rebirth something incredible and amazing. And that's the moment we're in now, because even as things fall, we can plant the seeds and ensure we rebirth something that isn't based on the old paradigms. And so that makes it a truly significant time, that we are on the planet. But also, with the different traditions, most traditions don't see time as linear, and that we operating in a circular or spiral, kind of process. And but it's clear from many of the different prophecies that the next period or the next 5 years or so are really important to us, and what we do during this time is going to be absolutely crucial, because on the one hand it's the biggest struggle in some ways that we face as humanity. It's about our existence, it's about our type of existence, etc. On the one hand, but a big part of that struggle, on the one hand, is about stopping the harm and destruction. But on the other hand, it's also about, this beautiful time that we're in, to really create something that's in flow with nature, in flow as humanity. And so I think, us exploring that a bit more today is an incredible space. So just thank you to, the incredible youth activists and different people that have put this together. Thank you. Back to you.
Chimigwech Puven. Amazing. And now we'll move on to Mendahi to do your introductions and answer the question, what is significant about this time we are in?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Mendahi Bastida from the Otomi Toltec peoples from central Mexico, in the highlands. And I just want to share with you that the Otomi peoples also related to the Toltec wisdom. We have been here for millennia, and going to the north and to the south. In ancestral times, when the Ice Age came, we were in the north, and the mandate was follow the ducks, follow the birds. And this is how we survived. Around 10,000 and more years we have been here in central Mexico. But before we were related to the Mu continent. And in our stories, it's also said that we come from the Pleiades. But one of the most important celestial bodies is Venus. We call that Earth, the leading star, the bright star. So for us, the sun, which is Father Sun, the moon, which we acknowledge as Mother, Grandmother Moon, and other celestial bodies are our guides. And we know that we live in cycles. And in the universe, there is a dance. And also, we acknowledge the Great Spirit as the sound of silence, Makihmu. And all what exists in the sky, Father Sky, is also in sacred relationship with Mother Earth. So we have been witnessing for millennia and centuries these changes, these dances of these celestial bodies, including Mother Earth. And in our stories, we have been seeing that at least 4 times, Mashikenya, also known as Quetzalcoatl in Mexicastec, Mashikenya, the feather serpent, came 4 times in the material world to remind us how to live in peace and harmony with nature and with the intangible, with the Great Spirit and the spirits of the universe and the spirits of the mountains, the rivers, the creeks, the spirits of the sea, and the spirits of the trees, the corn, the potatoes, the rice. So we are here in this time and space, and it's under the prophecy, we are living the prophecy. Because this time, prophecy is not going to happen just because it's going to come. We know that we are waiting for the fifth coming of Maxiqueña, Quetzalcoatl. But this time is very special, this time and space. We have accomplished another cycle, big cycle, 52,000 years, which ended in May 3rd, 2013. And now we are within the 13-year cycle from May 3rd, 2013 to May 3rd, 2026. And this is what we call the cleansing time. We are just waiting also for Quetzalcoatl, but also the agency of human beings to remember who we are in this world is very important. This cleansing time, the four sacred elements are speaking to us. Floods, fires, earthquakes, and so on. We are witnessing. I'm going to continue sharing with you later on about this. But we are in a big time, in the new dawn. And this time is our agency to remember who we are. Because ancestors are watching us, are guiding us, our ancestors. But also the future generations are in between, here and the future. Vikamadi, thank you.
Chimi Glechmandahi. Wow, it's beautiful. And now we're gonna pass it off to Grandma Diane to answer the question, what is significant about this time we are in?
Well, I had the time to reflect on your questions yesterday in meditation, and I thought about my journey related to Indigenous prophecies. And we know that we are collectively, those prophecies speak about the end of an era, as my brother Mandahi mentioned, according to their prophecies. But it's also the end of the era of the patriarchy and the re-emergence of entering into a fifth age, which is now the matriarchy, which means that it needs to happen that way because there has been great imbalance between the energy of the masculine and the energy of the feminine for the universe and for humanity. And we need to come back to that balance. And this is where all of us, men and women, have our work to do individually to create that balance within ourselves and to walk together equally. But when you research Indigenous prophecy, and I encourage you to do so, you'll see what I mean. And when we speak about the seventh fire prophecy of Turtle Island, it speaks about how the prophecy of the Anishinaabe mentioned how we, our generation of elders, we fulfilled that prophecy as the seventh fire, and that our children are now the eighth fire part of the prophecy, and that the ninth fire to come is the fire of our grandchildren. And so when we look at prophecy, it speaks about how by the ninth fire, our teaching lodge, the Medewan teaching lodge, will expand throughout the whole world for humanity to have access to traditional knowledge. And the Medewan Lodge is our original teaching lodge of our people of Turtle Island. And so this is what's key in transmitting the traditional knowledge today, is that we are fulfilling our mission as grandmothers and grandfathers and as elders to transmit that knowledge to the next generation. And as Mother Earth is ascending on her healing journey, humanity has to move out of its third level of density where humanity has been for thousands of years. And now we need to enter into that period where we need to enter that fifth level. This is what Mother Earth is inviting us to, that fifth level, where the energy of the ancient grandmothers, the energy of the divine feminine, and the goddesses, and all of that level, that's the dimension of the fifth era that my brother was talking about. And because we are at the crossroads, according to the 7-fire prophecy, crossroads either towards destruction or towards spirituality. And that's what those are the words from the 7-fire prophecy. And so in order for humanity to survive what is coming in Mother Earth's changes, and all the catastrophes that are there from the 4 elements of the earth and the wind and the fire and the water, Mother Earth is just turning over in order to renew itself, in order to survive herself. And this is what's happening out there in the world. And so we need, the 7th fire also mentions how humanity will reach out to the earth people for their traditional knowledge in order to survive. And that's what's happening today throughout the world. And we notice that now in the field of academic, science, religion, and other institutions, even in the corporate world, people are seeking that traditional knowledge from the indigenous peoples. So this is a time to pay close attention, because you and me, every one of us here, we all chose to be here for this exciting time. And this is what I wanted to share as what's so significant about this time. It's a time of celebration also, beyond staying in that density of suffering and pain, and we need to move beyond and hear the voice of our ancestors, wanting us to hear them and the guidance that they want to give us towards the future. And this is why I say we all need to pay close attention to spirit speaking to us. And whether it's spirit of grandfather sun, grandmother moon, star beings, Mother Earth, and all that is of the universe, it's also the importance of connecting with our own spirit guides and our lineage of ancestors. And that's what I wanted to say, how significant this time is, everyone.
Jamie Gwetch, Grandma Diane. Amazing. So now we're going to move on to the next question. What work have you been involved in regards to prophecy? And how long have you been working with these parts of prophecy, and how does that include your traditional culture and how it has played out and how you engage in this conversation? So maybe we're going to do a little round, and maybe we'll start off with Mendahi.
Kamadi. Thank you. Yes, ever since we were growing up, we became aware that there were 2 kind of approaches to the reality. One is the positivist way of thinking, what we call Eurocentric thought, and also what is the modern way of life. And the ancestral wisdom, the ancestral way of living, the good living, So I want to mention that this is very important to acknowledge, because the positivist way of thinking is killing life. It's based in domination and dominion patterns, where nature and even humans are resources. Whereas we understand, for example, the 4 sacred elements of life, water is sacred, it's not a resource. A human being is not a resource, it's not a human resource. It's a human that has a spirit. What spirit? So the mountains, so the rivers, and so on. So from one thing is to live with Mother Earth, with nature, with Father Sky, and on the other side is to live from them. So when we were growing up and we were learning this curricula in school, we had this dissonance, because we knew that there's something that is not right. There is no imbalance, there is no in harmony, not just with nature, there is no harmony with the spirit. So after that, this alienation, this way of taking over instead of taking care, has been the major problem. So it's been difficult for original nations and peoples and local communities to be involved in regard to prophecy. Because even prophecy or prophecies that we hold they have been misinterpreted. Because sometimes they see from these other lenses, the lenses of the modern way of thinking. But we know that we are holding something very important for the world as original nations and peoples. So I want to mention that it is time, this time and space is highly important, because living in prophecy is living with the natural law of the universe. Living in prophecy is remembering who we are, why we are here as human beings. And we respect the original instructions, the original principles to live in reciprocity, in responsibility, in reconnection with Mother Earth and Father Sky and the universe. So this is from not an anthropocentric way of thinking, but ecocentric and cosmocentric way of thinking. Living with changes everything. Thank you.
Miigwech Mendahi. Now we'll pass it off to Abatons.
I'd like to share a story that was shared from time to time with Badwe Wadan Benesi Bun, Eddie Benton. Spoke being in school when his teacher said, follow your dreams. So he's sitting in the classroom one day and he was looking out the window at a blue jay in a tree. And his teacher spoke up and said, Eddie, what are you doing? And he wasn't paying attention to what the teacher was saying. He was watching the blue jay and he didn't really turn his head towards her right away. Eddie, I'm speaking to you. So he turned towards the front of the class and he said, oh, he said, I'm following my dreams. And so the thing, I guess, that led me to prophecy, as grandmother said, was the choice that we made in that spiritual realm. I wasn't always brought up in these ways. As I said, I didn't learn until I got to college who I was. There was a very intentful thing that was done upon this earth. We call it colonization. We look at it as a very human act. But what we're starting to discover now in the revealing of the truth of the matter is that governments and major the major religion that moved across the earth were very intertwined. And when we look back in Europe, we see the same thing that was done to the indigenous people of this place was done in Europe, was done in India, was done in Australia, was done all over the earth. And so what it became was a very intentful and spiritual act to remove this thinking that each of us are talking about from our being, our spiritual connectiveness, the only part of ourselves that comes from somewhere else, the belief that we carry that one day we're going to heaven, one day we're going to see Allah, one day we're going to see the Creator, one day we're going to see our ancestors. And so my movement to the Medewan Lodge, and you know, there's many other movements of people in different ways that people are seeking out their understanding of their own spirit to do this. And all of those ways that are given by Creator are truth. And so prophecy isn't an idea. It's not an idea. It's not something that's an imagination. The truth of what was told is unfolding. The things that were foretold are unfolding. And so there's an action to prophecy. There's a doing. And that doing is our own part. And the biggest part of connecting with that is to work on our own healing. As Grandma said, we can't stay in our suffering. As Poovan said, we're enlightened beings. My brother Mandahi, healing does that for us. And so many things have been taken from indigenous people all over the earth. And that's the element that we need to rediscover ourselves. That's been done for me through fasting, and fasting led me to a dream. And that dream led me to my brother Mandahi in New York. 35 years later, that dream started to manifest. And so, as my brother spoke, what are you doing? I'm following my dreams. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm living. And the messages that come from Spirit in a manner of doing offerings that I started doing in 2003, and following the direction of my elders, grandmother Josephine, her work, and the work of other teachers who, beyond all objection, followed the voice of Spirit in a means of connecting with the elements that were protected for us in a time that we were told they were going to be taken away. I'd like to speak more about the migration, the great migration that happened. There are a number of other prophecies that connect almost identical to ours, a 12,000-year-old Japanese prophecy, a Muslim prophecy that talks about a time even before the earth was formed, when we were in a spiritual place. So I'll leave it there for now and pass it on to our eloquent speakers and knowledge keepers. Miigwech.
Chimigwech Avatons. So now we're gonna move on to Grandma Diane, and then we'll go to Puva next.
Well, in the last almost 40 years, I have traveled the world, and I've, with my elders, the youth, women, leadership of my nation, from the north, the EU, USG, and I was responsible for those, organizing those journeys for my Green Nation government. And in my travels, I heard many of the indigenous prophecies of many tribes. So I got to understand the journey that we were taking, especially since 1991, 92. More and more of the voices of indigenous people came out related to the end of an age and coming into a new age and a new period of time. And so what surprised me in many ways was the similarities of the tribes and their prophecies, and even in people where in very remote regions who have no access to modern communications spoke, and I heard their prophecies, and it astonished me how it was so similar to our indigenous prophecies of Turtle Island. And it was only during the pandemic that the elders of my nation encouraged us to go out there in the world and use every medium possible to speak about indigenous prophecy. And even though I heard it for all these years, I didn't feel that I was a carrier of indigenous prophecies, you know. And but at the same time, once my elder encouraged us to go out there, I said, well, I've heard them and I remembered them, and it's time for me to take the time to reflect and renew my memory of those prophecies that I heard from indigenous peoples throughout the world. And our elders said what's important is to relay those indigenous prophecies so that people can come out of the fear, despair, anxiety, and distress, and stress too, so that they can understand that this is a time of darkness that was prophesied, and that we were meant to go through this period. But once we move beyond, and the prophecies continue to say that there is great hope for the generations of a new world and a new people who will come from all four races of mankind. So here we are, you know, we're all different races here from different tribes throughout the world. We are the carriers of and we are the messengers of these prophecies, and it's time for us our voices to be heard. And with the name that I carry, the voice of thunder, I guess I have also a mission to do, because that name is my grandfather's name. And I know that in carrying my grandfather's name, who lived all his life in the forest and never lived on a reserve, that I have an obligation and a sacred responsibility to carry on what he safeguarded from colonization and the banning of our rituals and our ways. So I feel that we live in this time period where we are able to share this traditional knowledge, that, and it's time for me to rise up as a gukum, a grandmother, to share what my grandfather protected deep in the forest, and the lodges, the sacred lodges that he protected and that I witnessed as a child being conducted in secret. So here I am, sharing the voice of thunder, my grandfather's words. Aho.
Miigwech, Grandma Diane. So now we're going to move on to our next question on how intersectionality has been included in the work that you are doing. And I think we're going to start off with Pooven this time. So I'll pass it off to you, Pooven.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. And just I'll share a few reflections on the previous one, but integrated into this question. So and the theme for me is about struggles. It's just to say in South Africa, as many of you know, from the time many of us were 12 or 13 years old, we got involved in the anti-apartheid movement to stop the violations and the harm through the system called apartheid. And eventually, we thought we got victory. And we're celebrating, we're free, we have the freedom. But very quickly we realized, but that's not actually freedom. There's certain things that have opened up, certain restrictions that are not there, and certain violations that are not there. But as a people, we asked ourselves, are we truly free? If people are still, living with the daily struggles, going through, the levels of inequality are so high, etc. Ultimately, we had to get to a point as activists, especially as the country started also to disintegrate in many ways, realize that you can't be attached to, a struggle or a victory, because these things continue in cycles. Or, when a case was won in Colombia to protect the people and part of the Amazon, it was a big victory. But again, we saw the destruction happening under Bolsonaro and through that whole, period of time. But similarly, many other struggle victories that have happened. And so, ultimately the question was, or well, in my mind anyway, if these are going to be infinite struggles, and the fact that we in some ways facing the biggest struggle of our time, what does it actually mean? And what it did for me was push me inside, because I had to find something inside of me, and I knew I'm not going to find it outside. But through that process, suddenly messages started coming, tapping into different things about what we need to do with sacred sites, with sacred things that are being kept away for hundreds of years that are now being found, but also these sacred gatherings like today, but also other gatherings that we've had, is that, this is a time for that, it was written, it was shared, that by prophecy, this is the time that we certainly in. And so this is very much an inner journey that we, all going through, and even if we don't realize it, ultimately it's that journey. But part of that journey is understanding again who we truly are, and often, we get labeled, with different labels, uh, but also the fact that we've lost some of the first principles in terms of respect, in terms of how we are with each other, how we are with nature. And for me, that's where identity and intersectionality becomes really key. Because each of these struggles, and now that we have the biggest struggle, it is about a combination of all of the struggles. So it's a trauma that's seeping out of people. It's a trauma that's seeping out of, Mother Gaia. And it's a trauma that we are all carrying based on different types of discrimination each one of us have been, had to deal with, are dealing with, etc. But there isn't going to be any victory, if, let's say, we stick to our lanes and say, this is my struggle, that's your struggle, I don't care about your struggle, this is my struggle. ultimately it's a unification of everything, knowing that we come from the same source. We are one organism, and that ultimately, only when we truly understand that and we truly learn to live with each other in the flow that we should be living, there'll always be issues of the fact that we are divided, the fact that we feel like we're different streams, but the reality is we all waves in the same ocean. So for me, intersectionality is about ensuring that we appreciate the diversity, we appreciate the difference, but that we fundamentally respect each other, that we fundamentally in solidarity with each other, irrespective. There's no one human right is more important than the other, or that a human right is more important than the ecosystem, and other parts of nature or things we don't see, the invisible things. Uh, you know, Not one is more important than the other. And I think if we get to that fundamental understanding, intersectionality will happen automatically because of the way we are connected.
Miigwech Puven for those insights. And now we're going to pass it on to Grandma Diane. How has intersectionality been included in the work that you are doing?
You know, when he first asked me actually to do this webinar about intersectionality and prophecy, I said, I wonder what that word means. Uh, it's a new word for me. It's not very common. Uh, so I said, oh, I'll probably understand. Then my brother Mandahi was the brave one to ask for a definition. So I said, oh, good. Now I understand the word. And so we do have our own work as elders to be part of the dialogue about intersectionality in out there in the public. And one of the first questions that came to my mind about this question here was um, how can we achieve a new world and a new people and one people from the four races of mankind if there is no unconditional inclusivity? That's the first question that came out in reflecting on this question that you have here. Because over the years, um, the advocacy of even the LGBT community uh, in the early 90s, in my travels, I saw how even amongst ourselves as indigenous people, we called ourselves traditionalists, and we had such issue with the labels back then, 30 years ago, of gay, lesbian, queer, and then came along the new term that is more indigenous, two-spirited. And having been a witness of the suffering that I saw of people coming out of the closet, I used to ask myself, how do I support this cause? Because it's not very well received by the indigenous elders that I walk with. And and I really reflected on it because at that time I wasn't ready to jump into the boat of advocacy related to their cause. So because at that time I was so active in so many other causes for my nation, and I reflected on it when I was in Australia and with the Aborigines and the Maori, where more and more of these youth came out towards me in their fractions with family members and relatives in their communities, and they had to go and migrate to the urban communities because they were not very well received in their remote communities in the north or wherever they came from. So I said, what can I do at this time? So I talked to my children about it, and we said, let's adopt. We will adopt them as sons and daughters and brothers and sisters. So we have adopted children of two-spirited children from all over the world. And from there, that acceptance helped them rise to be who they can be out there in the world, to be leaders. And even today, you know, I have to say that I see the change of heart in the sacred lodges where two-spirited people are accepted to take their rightful place, not only in the community but also in the sacred lodges. And that for me is very an important part of the evolution of change and acceptance. And if we endeavor to take the collective journey towards truth and reconciliation, we have no choice as individuals to find that inclusivity, spirit of inclusivity. And because that's where we ourselves as individuals moving towards a new world and new people from the four races of mankind, that we will find inner peace and also acceptance of the issue, and also to be able to become as one and not judge, and be in that space of compassion and acceptance for all our brothers and sisters, no matter who they are, no matter what race they come from. Aho.
Miigwech, Grandma Diane. Now we're going to pass it off to Abaton Skeezus.
Beautiful, what a beautiful offering my sister made. Such a grandmother of unconditional love, lives as each of the panelists here do. I've been able to witness them in their lives, in their actions, and in their doing of their acceptance of people. And, you know, I think that acceptance brings an element of peace within ourselves, the healing ways, whichever that may be. The greatest thing that I found on this earth was my own peace. And once I found my own peace, I was able to understand more of what was around me. And I'm still not totally in a place of total peace yet. And I still have triggers, and I still have things to heal from. I still have deeper things to heal from. But my examples of what brought me to that place was sitting long periods of time on a mountain, singing the songs that I had for hours, talking to the clouds and trying to understand the clouds, watching the insects, watching the birds, listening to the wind in the trees, and speaking to those elements to carry the hurt that I had away in my own life. Carrying the message, carrying the songs, and putting the elements that we once, you know, we were told about, how our ancestors were, how they walked on this earth, how they used to see life, how they used to feel life. I had to come to a place of feeling life that way and understanding life that way. And so as I began to do those things, I started to understand relationship and relationships. My own relationship with myself and my observance of relationships with everything else. And in doing that, brought me to a place of becoming to a greater place of acceptance. We've just been grasping these tools again of our ancestors, of our ways over the past 50 years. And we still have a lot to learn. And part of that learning is the acceptance of others, their place in this, and the admission, if it's not happening out there, that we need more healing, we need more understanding. So I will commit to doing that myself. And if you see me out there, let me know who you are. I want to meet you. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to Mandahi. How has intersectionality been included in the work that you're doing?
Yes. First of all, I like to acknowledge that this time and space that we are sharing is a very critical and special time. And we call around the unification process. The unification process is based also in the rainbow covenant between Father Sky and Mother Earth. The rainbow has these 7 colors, but if there is one color lacking, there is no rainbow. So this is the unity in the diversity. And the eagle and the condor prophecy tells us how we have gone through difficult times for centuries. And that this is the time to come together. Peoples from the south and the north coming together, people from the east and the west. Because at the center is life. At the center is the spirit being expanded in a cyclical time. Because we honor the night, but we also honor the day. We also honor in between, which is the mystery. And this intersectionality, it's about to acknowledge who we are in the concept of life. And in the concept of life, we are just one other species. We are not the peak of the creation. We are just another species in the concept of life. So we must behave. We must come together, and there is no time for competition anymore. This time is for collaboration. This time is to come together. Now, this is the time to acknowledge the elders, but also the time to acknowledge the children. And we have to mend the hoop around the fire so we can learn from each other. We got to listen to the children, to the young people, because they know what is going on, what is happening. But also because we are not just thinking about what is called the 7 generations to come, because that's the future. We are also thinking about our ancestors, because our ancestors is guiding us. They are here to tell us how to live in peace and harmony with Mother Earth and Father Sky. And this is the time not just to listen, to act together. But we must listen the children and the young, because you know what is going on in this time and space. So there is not that time to waste. There is time to bring the good living paradigm. And the good living paradigm is to acknowledge the sacredness of life. The wind, the earth, the fire, the waters, need to be cleaned as our bodies. So we need to recover our way or place in the world. We need to recover dignity, collective dignity, because we are not just thinking what kind of world we are going to deliver to the next generations as the so-called intergenerational equity. We are thinking as well what kind of generations we are delivering to the world, to Mother Earth. This is a great task. So we need this transitional time, and the time is here. The time is now to act and to follow those who have the messages to live in this unification process and recover, again, our place in the world, the collective human dignity in the concept of life. Hamadi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hi.
Chimigwech. This just goes to show how wonderful these panelists are and how much love they carry in the work that they do and how much they think of those future generations that are yet to come, and also that reminder of the work and the way that our ancestors are leaving us forward. So with that, we do have one last question, and it's directed towards the youth on what messages would you like to share with the youth? And then we'll do a close off with abatons. So we have 15 minutes to 17 minutes to get through this, and then yeah, awesome. So we're gonna pass it off to Grandma Diane on what messages would you like to share with the youth? Chimiwech.
Short and sweet. Be curious, be a seeker, be a leader, find your destiny or your mission, recognize your strengths, and walk with dignity and pride. Who you are. And for those of you who are not there yet, get out of the gutter. This is what the grandmas say. Get out of the gutter, because there is such a wonderful, wonderful future that's waiting for all of us. There's a golden era coming, and we are part of that process. And we need to be able to walk together, And the youth are that generation that the elders spoke about. Even my elders said to me, you are the generation that will carry back and bring back the sacred bundles and the sacred lodges, and that is going to be your sacred responsibility. We have been safekeeping the traditional knowledge as elders, been linked to nature, grew up in nature, and born on the land. And it is your turn to rise up with these sacred bundles that are returning to our people, and the rituals, and also all the sacred lodges. And that do not look at the color of the eyes and the skin and the hair of the people that come knocking on your door, because people will come from all walks of life seeking this knowledge and seeking to enter that portal and that door of the sacred lodge, no matter which lodge it is. So, for you, in taking that traditional knowledge into your heart, you will exponentially anchor it in your spirit and your soul. Because you are part of that great change for tomorrow as prophesied. And because the indigenous prophecies give us hope for the future. And because of that, it is guaranteed. Whatever we share with you, it comes from lineage of our elders, of our ancestors going way back. We have our lineage of our grandmothers. We have a lineage of our grandfathers from both our father and our mother. And so We have spirit guides of our lineage, of our ancestors. And once we clear that, we can walk forward with an army of spirit guides to go forward and be part of the great change. Even though if we don't see what's happening out there in the world, that great change is happening. It's there. And many, many, many people are walking the same path that we are walking together with my brothers and sisters who are here today in this webinar. And we encourage all of you to do the same, to find your place in that circle of life. Aho.
Really glad, Grandma Diane. Now I'll pass it off to Abatons.
I'll just like to say to the youth that I was young once and was involved in a hunger strike in 1989 with the now national chief Roseanne Archibald. I was prompted by something inside of me to embark on that hunger strike. It was a political protest, but that political protest turned into spirit leading to me to a doorway where elders came from all over Canada. The hardest thing to overcome in life is fear. And when we get back up against the wall, that's when we seem to come out fighting. Find a way to overcome your fears, because fear is only in our mind. It's a reaction to trauma. It's a reaction to those things that have put us in places. This is your time. This is the time of prophecy of these new spirited people that we were told are coming to the earth. That's what we refer to them as. The Japanese referred to them as the silver-seeded ones, coming with great gifts. Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to the things that are speaking to you from your heart. The attention of events or things that are coming to you. Don't be afraid of what you're seeing. Don't be afraid of maybe the spiritual elements that you're seeing, that you're feeling, the gifts, maybe their intuition, maybe their visions, maybe they're through deja vus. There's all different ways. In the questions, somebody was asking about ceremonies, Sundance. There are other ceremonies. Seek them out. Feel with your heart and follow what it is that you're being prompted to do. Miigwech.
Miigwech Abatons. And I'll pass it off to Pooven.
So as activists, I think we know how to fight a good fight to stop some of the violations and destructions. But as activists, we also need to be dreamers and lovers. Dreamers in the sense of us dreaming, a new world into existence. The one Grandmother Diane spoke about. This kind of golden age. So how do we dream that into existence? But also, in some of the questions on the chat today from Cheyenne and from others about these different principles, for me, the key thing is it's one thing understanding the principles from a mental understanding, but to truly feel into some of them does mean, one has to do it through ceremony or, spending time with nature, as Elder Mike spoke about. For me, unconditional love, I only truly experience when I spend time with the mountain, Mount Shasta, and through a process that I was taken through, was shown and felt what unconditional love is. And, that was such a different thing from, concept of what is unconditional love. So I think feeling into all of that is critical. I think also be very innovative, as young people who are creative and innovative. So, as an example, we went to court recently and won a case against Shell to destroy to stop them from destroying our oceans. And we went there to court and we brought a different argument. We said, Indigenous people have a spiritual connection to the land and the ocean. And we use that as one of our main arguments in the case. While the Shell lawyers were laughing at us, the judges took us very seriously and saw that as very, very important for the time we're in, which helped us to, win the case. So I think innovation is going to be, absolutely crucial. Also, there's a Hopi prophecy, but it comes in many different prophecies about the time where there's a split that's happening in terms of the vibration on the planet. And I do think that youth can play a key role in being the bridge to ensure that, as we create this energetic pathway, that more and more people, walk the new pathway that, that we should be on, versus the destructive pathway, we're currently on. And I think the last thing to say is, just an encouragement to really look within yourself. I think, often we look on the outside, we see all of the issues, there's a lot of depression, a lot of trauma, and we blame each other for everything that's going on. But I do think a deep look, within ourselves, it's not an easy journey inside, but it's an absolutely crucial one because, from that journey, ultimately we get the understanding and the liberation.
Chimigwash Puven and Mandahi for messages you'd like to share with the youth.
Gisengwa Tiku. Greetings, beautiful young people. I just want to say that we are living in these prophetic times, but this time prophecy is not going to happen because just it's going to happen. We need to act. We need to come together with prophecy. This is the time for action. And we have heard all over around the world in international fora, national and local fora, how the young are waking us up. But actually, it's also the mountains or our ancestors are waking us up, because this is the renovation. This is a cyclical renovation, and the young is telling us that life is sacred. Life must continue in a sacred way. So we have this important principle. As my brothers and sisters have said, love is one of the main ones, but also reciprocity. Reciprocity is not just a principle, it's a law of origin in the universe. Because if we take, we have to give back. We need to re-educate ourselves at home, in our communities, in the universities, at all levels in the institutional world. So if your life has been out of place, has been out of balance and equilibrium, you must come back. If your institution, also your family, or your organization or your government has been failing about the care of life, you must change. We must change. This is the time. And change takes a lot of energy, a lot of consciousness, because it's not just the material level, it's also the mind and the spiritual, the energies. That's why we are asking to protect sacred sites. In protecting sacred sites, we protect life, and we protect communities, and we protect families, and we protect ourselves. That's how we are here today and delivering this message, representing the Eagle and the Condor Council, representing also the Earthrise movement, and the Rise of Nature and Beyond, the Earth jurisprudence, because we are not the only ones who are subjects of rights. The mountains, the atmosphere, Father Sky, the rivers, and everything around the animals, the plants, the minerals, they also have the right to live in peace with us and in peace with all what exists. So beautiful young people, remember who you are, and that we are the synthesis of the sacred elements, and we are the synthesis of our ancestors. So this is a beautiful time to come together and learn from each other, but around the fire, acknowledging the four winds and the center, the tree of life, which connects the underworld with the sky. This is the time to acknowledge that we need clean ideas. So we need clean actions. This is the time to think beautifully. This is the time for peace, but not the peace in an action. It's a peace in action. This is the time to learn from each other around the four sacred elements, acknowledging Mother Earth as a being that gives us life and love and security. This is a time of transcendence. If we want to transcend in a good way, we need to remember who we are. We need to remember who has given us this beautiful life so we can walk in beauty. We can walk in unity. We can walk in this unification process. Then we live in happiness, in joy, and also in responsibility, in reciprocity, in respect for life. Hamadi. Thank you to my brothers and sisters, their teachings from the four corners. I really acknowledge Brother Puven and all what he represents in Asia and Africa, because responsibility follows you. If you were born in another ecosystem, but your culture is from another side, you have double or triple responsibility. It's who we are. So thank you, Grandpa, and member of the Eagle and the Condor Council, Habituns. And especially thank you to Grandmother Diane for her beautiful teachings, and also to the young people who are teaching us how to walk in responsibility. Hamadi.
Chimigwech Mandahi. So again, I want to give a big chimigwech to our panelists, Abaton Skizis, Grandmother Diane, Mandahi, and Puven. We also have our beautiful tech team who has been helping me organize your questions. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to get to them. I know that we could all sit here probably all day and talk about this stuff. So I'm sorry that time was short. But I want to say Chimigwech, and again to our ASL interpreters, Hercules and Flora, Chimigwech for taking the time, all of you for being here today. And I'm going to pass it off to Abaton Skizis to close us off in a good way. So Chimigwech, everyone. Bamapi.
Bonjour. Had a grandmother, Annie Wilson, who taught me gave me a great gift, the question of what can be shared from this talk is everything. Nothing belongs to us. Everything that has come through each of us has come through the earth, has come through spirit, has come through the DNA of our ancestors, have come through the words of our loved ones. And so the reciprocity that my brother speaks of is in this dish of berries that will be placed upon the land. The questions that you have, the questions that you ponder is what my grandmother, my sister, Annie Wilson Baugh spoke of when she went to her grandmothers to ask questions of them and her aunties. They said, take your food out to the trees, take your food out to the rocks. They're the ones that have the answers. Go speak to them. We have to acknowledge that we are part of the biosphere. We are part of the earth, as has been spoken. Spend your time there. Bring your offerings out there, your food, your berries, your tobacco. Bring your heart out there. Leave your tears there. Leave your pain there. Celebrate the joy of life out there. I want to share a song to close this off. A song that came, a song of prophecy, a song about the new ones that are on the earth. I indigo na do. The ones in the Ojibwe language, it means backwards. The new spirited ones. They're here to say something, and the something they are here to say is about healing. Amigwichu wasa na do ni kanis ibi nong ishkwandem. Amigwichu nishin na do ishkokumakwe. O nishin na do nebe. E o ni kanis na do. Amigwichu ni kanis manda anongum. Amigwichu nishin bamadiwin ishkokumakwe. Amigwich, 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 amigwich. Ah, je in the Mishnah, j'aime le do, je in the Mishnah. Ah, je in the Mishnah, j'aime le do, je in the Mishnah. Ah, je in the Mishnah, j'aime le do, je in the Mishnah. Ah, je in the Mishnah, j'aime le do, je in the Mishnah. Mi kanagana, mi gwich. Help.